It should be a matter of concern for all of us that Pakistan's infrastructure spending is one of the lowest in the region and well below the investment requirements that are generally prescribed for countries like us, which are about 8 to 10%.
Infrastructure is the root of economic development. Without good infrastructure, business cannot flourish.
A lot of the infrastructure projects that we see come from the banking sector, or the financing comes from the banking sector, and that too against heavy government guarantees.
The requirement to take up all these projects and to implement all these projects is so enormous that one segment contributing to it, like an equity player or a multilateral grant or a multilateral loan or a bank loan, will not cut it.
Pakistan's capital markets provide a very large untapped opportunity and offer the most viable solution in bridging the gap in infrastructure financing needs.
So clearly the need to develop an asset class which is longer term, which carries better pricing, which carries better risk assessment is clearly needed. Otherwise, we are going to end up in a continuous short-term cycle, and financing that kind of infrastructure through the capital markets will become even more challenging.
Mutual fund assets are 0.5% of GDP. You go to India, income funds are 4% and equity funds are 8% of GDP, and you go to the US and you see much higher numbers.
What we would like to see is issuances come to the capital market for funding as opposed to going to the banks. Today there was an event talking about InfraZamin's credit guarantees and how they can actually help the mutual fund sector. Because I think that without everyone understanding exactly how guarantees work and how they can help the sector grow, it is difficult to go forward.
We need everyone to buy into the vision here. And I know it's a vision that everyone can get behind because everyone wants to see more capital flowing into infrastructure.
We already engaged a number of participants earlier, and now today was the turn of the capital markets, and in particular the topic was how to finance infrastructure projects through the capital markets.
And people know that the way the market is organized today is suboptimal, and we can look around the world and we can see various examples of how things can be done better.
The first I would like to draw attention to Malaysia. So they also have equivalent of InfraZamin in their country. So that was established in 2009. So they are well at least a decade ahead of us in this regard.
We can work with both the bank market as well as the Sukuk market, Sukuk and TFC market. So it's very simple. You have a loan. The bank is not comfortable with the borrower. It's not comfortable with the risk. All we simply do is, if we like the project and we really look at the project on a cash flow basis, on a commercial viability basis, and on a risk basis, and we see how we can address our risks, and if we take that project on, we will give a guarantee to the bank against that project. So should that project end up in default, the bank can call our guarantee, and our guarantees are always unconditional and irrevocable once they have been issued.
These longer tenure projects have a higher credit risk. So I think the role of InfraZamin will be very critical and very helpful and actually in bridging that gap.
Between PACRA, Guarantco, regulators, we spent a solid amount of time, and it took us more than actually 2 years just to come up with a framework which would enable InfraZamin to hold its AAA rating over a longer time horizon.
And our aim is that once we do bring bonds to the market, they should be rated in the AA plus or the AAA category with our credit rating behind us.
You have to enable the first or the second round of such transactions, and after those you would expect that the market and the rest of the stakeholders will then allow it to flourish and prosper on its own.
We can then develop the bond market in a way that many more sectors are considered rather than just simply power and banks.
We've seen this in Nigeria. It does not happen overnight. It does not happen simply from InfraZamin launching a product into the market. It needs all all stakeholders within that market who I know all want the same thing. They all want to see greater flows of capital going into the market.
And one way of looking at it is a study by IFC that says that should capital markets be playing their role appropriately and efficiently, it could manage to unlock $800 billion annually from the emerging Asian markets.
Of course, there are some macroeconomic headwinds as there are across the globe that Pakistan has to deal with. But the fundamentals of a large market and high quality resource of human capital, I think is what makes me at least very excited about the future for Pakistan.